Hello dear creatives, welcome to another tutorial from Alewadivat. If you are joining this channel for the first time, you are welcome to Alewa family. So today in this tutorial we'll be learning how to draft, cut and sew these beautiful female shirts. So if you are going through this tutorial today, I bet you don't need to see any other tutorial to make a female shirt. This tutorial is well detailed and well explanatory, so you don't need any other additional knowledge. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so you don't miss on our tutorials that will be posting regularly. For this tutorial, please give us a like. Drop your questions in the comment section if you have them. A comment on what you think about the video as well. So right about now, let's go into the tutorial. We don't want to waste no time. Drafting our pattern first. So now you need a pattern paper excuse me, that is long enough for your shirt length and wide enough for the largest circumference that you'll be working with. Measurement that will be needing, you will need to start with, you want to create a 2 inches border on the side of your paper. So this side is where we'll be working from. So what do I mean by where we'll be working from? This side will be our center front. So now this pattern paper, I'm using it to draft for the front pattern first to start with. So now I'm creating that 2 inches. I'm just going to mark 2 inches like this. From the center front, I'm going to mark 2 inches inward. You can see that. So you're going to mark that all the way down on your pattern paper. Then you connect those lines with your ruler. Just make sure that most of the mark that you have, most of them meet as you are doing it. So after you have marked border of 2 inches, so this will be our buttonhole and our button stand. You understand? So this is what we will use for our buttonhole and our button stand. So after you have done that, you want to fold that in. You want to mark the length of our for the length of the shirt. So I'm just going to mark the length of my shirt. I want to make the length of my shirt 29. So on this pattern, I've decided that I'll add all my allowance as much as I can on this pattern. So I'll add my allowance of 1 inch. That's the hemming allowance. That will make me have 30 inches as the length of my shirt. That's on the pattern. So I'm just going to mark that across. I'm going to mark my 30 inches length across like that. So I'm just going to connect that with a ruler to get a straight line. So now this is the length of my shirt. So I'm just going to cut that out. Now we have the length we need for the shirt. So at this point, I'm going to come in with another pattern paper. So this is going to serve as the back pattern. So this is for the back pattern and this is for the front pattern. Do you understand that? So now, contrary to what we did here where we folded in the buttonhole stand, the back will not have a buttonhole stand. So we're just going to place it together like that. We're going to place it on top of each other, like that's the front pattern on top of the back pattern. Then you hold that down with your pin to put them in place. So I'm just going to hold that together to make sure they are well placed together. Our back pattern is going to be 33 inches. You know, my front pattern plus the hemming allowance was 30, so my back pattern is going to be 33 inches. So I'm just going to mark 33 inches from the top here for my back allowance, for my back pattern, sorry. So so that's it. So I'm just going to roll that across with ruler to get a straight line. So I'm just going to cut the excess out. So at this point, we have our front and back placed together. So now for the width of the pattern, for our measurements, which definitely is going to be the widest. That's for my own measurements. My hip is the widest of the measurements that we are using to draft this pattern. So my hip is 42 inches. So divided by 4 is going to give us 10.5. So I'll be marking 10.5 from our center front here. See, this is our center front, and of course our center back. So from the center front here, I'm going to be marking 10.5. I'm just going to mark that. So 10.5 plus the sewing allowance of 1 inch, that's noted. Then I want this shirt to be free. I don't want it to be tight for me, so I would add 1 inch allowance again for ease all round. So that gives us marking 12.5 across our paper, like that, till we get to the length of our shirt. Go ahead and connect that together with a ruler to get a straight line. So now we can as well cut that excess out already, so that we know that we have our length and width. So I'm just going to cut that out so that we can know what we are working with. So I'm just going to pin that together again. I'll pin it everywhere so it doesn't shift as we work on it. So now here is our pattern that we are working with. So we have our front and our back both pinned together. So now we can start drafting our shirt pattern properly. So now we come to the end of the pattern here. That's like, let me just put this as the side. So we come down by 2.5 inches. That's to get the slope of the shoulder. So we are going to connect that point here. This is our 2.5 mark here to this point here. So we'll just call that point 0. So we are going to connect them together. Oh, we're going to connect those points together. So after we have done that, so this is our shoulder slope now. Can I get that? This is the shoulder slope. So you can go ahead and cut this excess out. So this is no longer needed on this pattern. So you go ahead and cut it out. After we have cut those two parts out, we want to bring this excess between the front and the back. We want to bring it upward. You know it's down before. So we are going to move our front block, we're going to move it down to the length here. So we are pinning it at the down parts now together. They'll be equal at the down parts, that's the front and the back will be equal at the down, that's at the length of the shirt. So at the upper part now, we have our excess. So now what you want to do at this point is you want to measure 0.5 across, that's 0.5 on the front pattern. So you're just going to go through that slope. You can see I'm doing that on the front pattern only. So I'm just going to do that and I'll get a straight line connecting those together, connecting those points together. So I'll just get a straight line like so. So now what you want to do at this point is, whatever you are doing, make sure that your pattern do not shift. So now this is our back pattern, this excess that we have, we want to bring it forward on top of that 0.5 line. You can see that, so just making it touch that 0.5 line. You're going to do that all through. I think we should pin that down as well. So just make sure you pin that down like that. So after you have pinned it down, just want this to relax. After you have pinned the front and the back like that, you've overlapped it. You're going to overlap it on top of that 0.5 that we marked. So now we are getting closer. So I just turn this side over and cut out. You can see that this is flying out of our straight line. So you just cut that out there. So what you want to do at this point is you want to come down by your neck depth. I'll be using 2.5 neck depth, 2.5. Then at the width, I'll be using 2.5 as well. How did I arrive at this 2.5? Just divide your shoulder measurement by 6. So whatever it gives you, you use it as your neck width and your neck depth. So that is that. So after that, I want to connect those 2 points here, that's our width and our depth, with a curve. So don't do something that is too deep like this. Just do something that is a very good curve. You can see that we're just going to do that like that. So we have a curve already. We want to leave that as it is and pin that back. Let's just know that we have our neck measurements already. So from this point now, you want to measure your shoulder width. Like I said, my shoulder is 15. That gives us 7.5. So I'm just going to, because it's a shirt, so you will not want it to be fitted at the shoulder part. You just want a little drop. Some can use 1 inch, but I'll prefer to use 8 inches. 8 inches. That I'm adding 0.5 to my actual back measurement. So at that point now, you want to come down by your armhole circumference. So my armhole circumference is 16. So I'm just going to come down by 8 inches like that. So with that, I'm going to connect these points and these points together to get a straight line. So, and I'll rule that across to get a square sort of. So now from this point you want to come down by your bust point. My bust point is 10 inches, so I'm just going to come down by 10 inches, and I'll rule that to get a straight line. So that is my bust line. So now from this point you want to come down by your waist length. That's your shoulder to your waist. My shoulder to waist is 17 inches. So I'm just going to rule that to get a straight line. So the next interval we want to get is our hip and the length of the shirt. So definitely we go to the length of our shirt like that. So now this is the waist line. So at this point you want to measure your bust circumference on this line. So let me just extend this line like that. So I'm just going to measure my bust circumference. My bust circumference is 37. So 37 divided by 4 is going to give me, I think, 9.25. I hope I'm correct. So that's 9.25. On my waistline, my waist circumference is 30. So 30 divided by 4 will give me 7.5. So I'm just going to mark that. Then to my hip line, my hip is 42. Divided by 4 is going to give me 10.5. So I'm just going to mark that like that. We are going to add our sewing allowance and ease allowance. Sewing allowance of 1 inch, ease allowance of 1 inch, that gives us 2. So I'm applying the same thing to my waist because I want my shirt to be free. So I'm doing the same thing at the down part. So I'm just going to connect that together. So I'm just going to connect my hip and my waist together like that. So now we have our shirts marked all round. So for the armhole, so I'm just going to get the midpoint between here, like this line. This is my armhole line. You get the midpoint, which is 4 inches. So you just come in by 0.5 and you mark it. But mind you, this is for the front. That's, you connect with a armhole curve. So it's giving us the same thing. Let me remove this pen. Connect with the armhole curve. So you're connecting this point, and your actual bust circumference together. So I'm just going to connect that part. If it's not connecting, you can connect from the shoulder here to this point with a straight ruler. Then you use your curve to complete it. I'm going to complete it with my armhole curve. So that is that for that. So the other one extend into the remaining part of the measurement. So that is our armhole curve at that point. So I'm just going to come to my neckline here and cut it out. So now at this point you really need to pay attention to how I'm going to cut out my neckline. So you want to cut, you see I'm not cutting the front and the back together, so I'm just cutting only the front here now. So I'm going to cut it all the way. You can see that I'm going to cut it all the way right here, and I'll stop. Then this line here, you can see it, I'm going to come down by 0.5, just a little bit. If I wasn't teaching, I was just going to go ahead and cut that freely. I just needed you to see. So I'm going to cut that, connect to this point here. You can see, so this is our neckline. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the sides out. At the armhole part, you know, this is the curve for the front, so the curve for the back will be different. Instead of us going in by 0.5 like we did for the front, we're just going to connect it directly to this line here. So as you are cutting the front and the back together, what you want to do is you want to cut the back first, then you come back to cut the front when you have separated both patterns. So this is what I mean. So I'm just going to raise the front and reshape that armhole like that. That's, I'm cutting only the front now at this point. So now this is, so if you want to add some, maybe some design to the down part, like to the sides, from a shape like the TM shape, so you just come up from the length of your shirt, you just come up by 2 inches and you mark it like that. Then you get the midpoint. You can see my pattern here is 12.5, so I'm just going to get the midpoint, which should be 6.25. So I'm just going to connect that together to form, cut that out, sorry. So now we have the front and the back. It is safe to detach them at this point. I'm going to detach the front and the back. So this is what my back pattern looks like, and this is what my front pattern look like. So this is going to be buttonhole and my button stand. So we're done for the pattern of our shirt. So we are just going to go ahead and use this to cut out the fabric. So let me just note some things here. So at this point, when you are cutting on your fabric, you are going to add your 0.5 allowance here, 0.5 inches allowance. That's half an inch allowance. So at the shoulder here, don't mistake this line for allowance. You're going to add 0.5 inch allowance. That's half of an inch allowance. The same thing for the back here, 0.5. Then for the armhole as well, 0.5. So that is that for that. So every other thing remains the same. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this on my fabric. I will be uploading a video on how to sew. So that video is going to cover cutting of the fabric, then how to put your pieces together. So I want you to just hit on the notification bell so that when I post that video, you will be the first person to be notified. Then don't forget to share this video with other creatives like you. Then give me a like for this video. I would appreciate it so much. Then drop a comment on what you think about this video. Then if you have questions, you can drop them in the comment section. I want you to practice this so you can get perfect at it. So have a nice time. Bye bye.